And it looks like we're live. Excited to have folks here. Tanisha, go ahead and get us started.
Awesome. I want to take the opportunity to welcome everybody to today's webinar. I am super excited to be able to be joined by some absolutely amazing human beings and organizations. So this is the Demystifying Tech Book Publishing webinar. So we're going to talk about all the things that you need to know if you're interested in maybe one day publishing a technical book. So our panelists here today, we have Miss Susan McDermott, who is from Apress, the publishing company. We have Sarah Mackey, who is from WISP. I am Tanisha Martin from BlackGirlsHack. We also have Nicole from Diane Initiative, and I believe that Mary Galloway from Women's Society of Cyberjutsu will be joining us a little bit here in a couple of minutes. So I will turn it over to Sarah to introduce our illustrious guest.
Thanks so much. Excited to be here with everyone today. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Susan McDermott. Susan is the editorial director at Apress, which is a Springer Nature company. And she works really with first-time authors to really help them achieve their goal of getting published. She has spent her entire career working with book acquisitions. And so she really knows how to understand trends, how to shape ideas, and really how to find the best person to be an author on topics for the intended audiences. She has signed and published over 700 books so far, and I'm sure there's more books to come from this audience we have here today. She's had a great career, also including time with Wiley, Prentice Hall, and she's been in various categories, including information security, enterprise software, cloud networking, nonprofit management, licensing and intellectual property, banking and financial technology, and much more. So it is our pleasure to introduce Susan today, and we invite you, as you're listening to her, to enter your comments into the chat box on the various platforms you're watching on, and Susan will have some Q&A time to be able to answer those afterwards. So Susan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you, all of you, for having me here. The genesis of this event tonight that we're having came when I attended the RSAC conference in San Francisco back in May, and I was meeting with some potential authors, and I was working with a gentleman who runs a PR company, and he wanted me to meet some people, and he said, hey, one of his clients dropped out, and he said, do you want to meet some people? And I said, sure. He said, I want to make it up to you. And I said, all right. And we went into a conference room at the hotel, and he introduced me to Nicole, and we had such a great conversation, and we were just talking about the good work that you all are doing, and connecting people to different organizations and trying to find inroads into this field, the security field. And I said, I've done presentations before at other publishers, and at Wiley I did presentations, and then I also did one. I've done a couple here at Apress, and I said, I'd be happy to do a webinar for your members if that's something of interest. And she said yes, and it came together pretty quickly, and I'm really pleased. So thank you again. I don't have to say too much about myself because Sarah already read my bio. So Nicole's going to advance the slides for me, so I'm just going to talk about it. And the next slide, I guess we can sort of skip over, because that's me. I've been doing this for more than 25 years. I've been in professional publishing. It was the very first job I got when I got out of college. I majored in English communications and wasn't sure what I was going to do. Didn't necessarily have a thought that it was going to be publishing, but they were, I was answering ads, and my parents kept saying, how many resumes have you sent out? And one day something popped up, and it was sort of local, and it was a tax law publisher, which again wasn't necessarily my great interest, but I learned so much. I had some great mentors and bosses at that job, and I learned publishing, sort of that particular kind of publishing, from the ground up. I learned copy editing and proofreading and scheduling and project management, and that's how it started. And I just continued working in professional publishing. It's all I've ever done. Sarah mentioned all the different areas that I've managed, and the programs that I've managed, and all the different topics. And coming here to, I can just say this about coming to Apress, which is, she mentioned a Springer Nature company. Coming to Apress, I had some misconceptions or preconceived notions about the tech audience. I thought, I don't know what kind of authors they're going to be. I guess I thought, and I've said this to people before, I thought that that tech people would be sort of secretive and not wanting to share information about what they learned. And I found out very quickly that it is absolutely the opposite, and that no one sort of gets anywhere. If someone finds a solution, they're very happy to share so that the whole entire field can advance and move forward. And they're so supportive of one another. This is just the general community of professionals and authors that I've met. And I just was sort of blown away by that. And it's just made my job so wonderful at Apress. My time here, I've been here for 9.5 years now. And yeah, I like working with authors and helping them achieve their goals of publishing a book. I can say, and all authors sort of have the same, professional authors. I'm not talking, I can't really give too much information on if you want to write a romance novel or fiction or anything like that, because I've never worked in that kind of trade publishing. So, and I know it's just very different. But professional publishing, almost, I would say 99.9% of my authors have a full-time job, and they have a family or friends or a life outside of it, and making time to write a book is a big deal. And it's something that we sort of go into every project knowing. And yeah, I have tremendous admiration for anybody. I've never written a book myself, and I can't imagine coming home from work at night and writing one. So I tip my hat to anyone who can achieve this accomplishment. Okay, next slide. Let's jump right in. Apress. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process at my company, but some of the things I'm going to say, and many of the things I'm going to say, would be applicable to other publishing companies. And this isn't necessarily a presentation where I'm selling my company, but I just wanted to provide information to people. I have a sister who wants to write a book. She's in the nursing field, and she wants to write a book. And even though that's not something that I would work on, it's the same process. The same proposal, the same things that you have to think about when you're writing a professional book, regardless of who publishes it. So, so keep that in mind as we go forward. Apress is a technical publisher. It was actually started out by a couple of programmers and developers about 20 years ago. They started the company, and they called it Authors Press in the beginning, and then they combined it, they merged it, and it became Apress. But their whole idea behind starting the company was, let's just, we want to share our ideas, we want to write books, but let's make it easy for everyone to understand. Let's not make it any more complicated than it needs to be. The contract was fairly straightforward and not written in legalese. It was just, that was sort of the genesis of the company. And then prior to my joining the company, about maybe 15 years ago, Apress was acquired by Springer Nature, and Springer Nature is one of the largest scientific, technical, and medical publishers in the world. And you probably know things they do. They publish Nature magazine. We publish Scientific American. And then we have imprints like Palgrave Macmillan and Springer Medicine, Springer Technology, a lot of academic books. Probably many of you might have even had a Springer book at some point in your education journey. So that's our company. Our books are written by professionals for professionals. And then, on every conceivable topic in the tech space, I happen to manage, I manage security. So I do security, privacy, identity, and that's my main focus now. But we do programming, and we do mobile and game development, and web dev and open source, and every topic. And one thing that sort of also sets us a little bit apart from some of our direct competitors is that we do business and business tech books, because we recognize that particularly for some of the more general business books, sometimes somebody's working in the tech space and they're just sort of doing their own thing. Maybe they're a programmer, they're a developer, and then they all of a sudden get promoted and they're managing people, but they don't have the tools, or they've never managed before. And so we definitely try to cover that by publishing some books that will help them on that journey, managing programmers and things like that, just to give them the resources that they need. So that's Apress and Springer Nature. Next slide. Also, I'm going to say, and maybe apologize a little bit, I'm a Jersey girl, and I'm a fast talker, so I'm trying to slow myself down. But I apologize if I'm speaking too quickly. Anyway, this next slide is a representation of sort of a couple of our best-selling books. Big Breaches, Zero Trust Security was one of the first zero trust books on zero trust that came out in the market. It sort of came out just at the right time, and it sold a great number of copies, and the authors have gotten an awful lot of attention for writing that. We just actually met. We had a meeting at RSAC in May and talked about doing their second edition. And then along with that, a number of our brand new books. Most of these books are brand new. They have just come out. And then you can see just from the titles, some of them are certification. There's a certification book there. There's Jumpstart Your SOC Analyst Career, like some that help you with your career. And then sometimes some books that sort of talk about, mastering cybersecurity is a little bit of a higher level book. And then the orange one is Enterprise Cyber Risk Management. So we sort of cover the whole space. And then some books are the one in the top left, Firewalls, Don't Stop Dragons, is a security and privacy book for a general audience. It's sort of a book for anyone in your life who might want to protect their online security, their digital security. So that's just a quick little sampling. Next slide. Okay, so why do you? I'm not sure, but the reasons that I get from the conversations that I have, the first and foremost is people want to make a contribution to the tech community. They've found a solution to a problem or a way to do something better, and they want to share that with their community because they know it's a pain point that they encounter doing their job, and they want to write a book about how a solution that they found. And that's sort of the primary impetus for how people go about it. There's other reasons. There's many authors come to me because they want to build their own personal brand. They want to build their platform and talk about something that they're passionate about, that they love to do, and they want to just share that. They're maybe more on a speaking circuit. They're getting some good feedback from conferences and things like that, and they want and that's part of what their goal is in writing a book. I've had people say very specifically that they wanted to, I'm writing this book because I want to get a promotion, or I want a new job, and this is going to help me. That's sort of more of a rarity, to be honest. I think the bulk of the people who write our books are people who just want to make a contribution. And then every once in a while, this last one down here, every once in a while, I've had an author who said to me, yeah, I always wanted to write a book, so here we go, I wrote this book. This is something that I'm knowledgeable on, and it was easy for me to do, so I wrote the book. And that's, there can be a million reasons to write a book, but these are the most common. Next slide. How do we find authors? We find them in many, many ways, and that has changed a lot. The ways in which we find them, or the ways in which I find them, has changed a lot along my career path. In the beginning, definitely a lot more. In the beginning of any job or any new program, a lot more hustle, a lot more trying to find out who are the thought leaders in the space, who are writing blogs, what blogs should I pay attention to, who is speaking at conferences, what are they talking about? I try to go to. I certainly don't. I'm not a security professional, so I certainly don't know all the ins and outs. But at this point, I feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe because security affects us all, and not just it's not so insular in companies, but it's definitely something that I not too technical, but I can sort of wrap my brain around. So a lot of times now, I get people coming to me, which is something that happened at some points in my career, but much more often now, I guess, because I do a lot of promotion. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I usually announce my new books and I talk about them. And so I've had a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn. I've definitely done some, cold calling, not necessarily calling on the phone, but reaching out to people and saying, hey, I see that you've spoken on this topic and I think it might make a great idea for a book. Have you ever thought about it? And things like that. Bloggers are people who are already writing on a daily basis, getting some great practice in. Speakers definitely. So anybody who's speaking at a conference already sort of has a little bit of an outline put together, and to be able to to turn that around into a book is a little bit easier, maybe because you've already done some of the work. We definitely look at some self-published things. We get a lot of referrals. I mean, that's sort of what's happening to me a lot now, is getting referrals from other authors or just people that I meet. When I go to conferences, I take lots of meetings with people because they might not want to write a book at that particular moment in time, and they might not ever get around to writing a book, but maybe 6 months down the line, they meet somebody who says in a conversation, oh, hey, I really want to write this book, or I wrote this book, but I don't know who to take it to. And maybe that person will remember me and send them my way. That's definitely something that happens. A little aside, a little anecdote. A couple of days ago, so 5 years ago, 2019, I did this presentation or a variation of it at Dreamforce when I was working on Salesforce books. And so I was at Dreamforce, and one of my authors and we did a session, and it was fantastic. It was great to sort of co-present with him, and I would talk about the publisher side, and he would talk about his experience as an author and what did he think about it. And anyway, I did the presentation. I met with a colleague afterwards. We had a great lunch and we talked about it, and I was so happy. They recorded it. I have never watched it. 5 days ago, somebody reached out to me with a link from that presentation and said, are you still doing Salesforce books? Because I have an idea for one. And I thought, that's the first time that's happened in 5 years. I thought that was kind of a little bit crazy. But yeah, you never know when people are going to connect with you. Sometimes people are going to apress.com and they go to the security page and there's my name and my email. So it's things like that too. And then also all of our books, mostly all of our books, we have a technical reviewer who reviews the manuscript, because again, as I say, I'm not an expert in this field. So we have them all, run if we have any code or any facts and whatever, that we get somebody to do a technical review. And sometimes that's sort of just a great spot for somebody to get started. They see the process. They have sort of like a front row seat to how the process of writing and reviewing and how the whole publishing thing works. So sometimes they turn around and say, oh, I have an idea. I'd like to write a book. So that happens too. Next slide, please. So this is, and when I said at the beginning that I'm going to be talking a little bit about the specifics at my company, but this is in particular, any book you want to write, any professional book you want to write. And when I say that, I mean versus professional versus trade. Trade would be, our books are trade discounted, but a trade book would be, a novel that you would read, like whether it's fiction or nonfiction or something like that. Those are considered trade books. And these books that we publish are professional books for a professional audience. So the most important, the first step in the journey after you've made a connection with somebody, or even before you've made a connection, is the book proposal. And a book proposal asks for it asks the questions that any editor needs to properly evaluate a book project. So whether you're writing on brain surgery or root canals or security or identity or something like that, it doesn't matter. These are the things that people who are the editorial team looking at your proposal are going to want to know. So they're going to want to know, what topic does it cover and how, the book description, some selling points. And when I say selling points, for us, that means, how does your book stand out? What are the things that you want, what are the things that sort of, is it because this is a hot topic? This is, you're writing you want to write a certification book, and a selling point would be, 100,000 people a year take this exam, so we can see what the audience would look like, or something like that. What will your readers learn, or what do you want them to learn from reading your book? You sort of have to have that in your head to be able to share that to be able to share that in your book. Who is the audience? I always think that there are two things on this list of top questions that I think are the most important. Who's the audience, and the table of contents. So who's the audience? Who are you writing it for? Are you writing it for a beginner? Are you writing it for somebody who's advanced and you're going to skip right past the beginner stuff? You kind of have to know what your audience level is. Who are you writing? Are you writing for, boards of directors? Are you writing for system administrators? Like, who are you writing this book for? Who are you speaking to? Is is what it really boils down to. And then the table of contents. I said before, one of the places that we get potential authors from is people who speak at conferences, and they've sort of already sketched an outline of what their topic that they're going to talk about. The more effort that goes into a robust table of contents at the beginning just completely facilitates the writing of the book. And again, I say this as someone who's not written a book, but when I get a proposal and I see a really, 2 and 3 3 level heads down from each chapter, I can see, what they're sort of like the breadth of what they're planning on covering, but then it sort of gives you a place to start. And whether you're going to start on chapter 1 or you're going to dig right into chapter 7 and start 4th as you're covering your material, that's very helpful. And then the other things that are important for us are, specifications. How long do you think it will be? Most books that we publish are in the 250 to 400 page range. We also do some books that are around 150. If it's truly sort of a primer or like a basic overview of a niche topic, it can definitely be covered, and it doesn't have to be 400 pages. It can be 150 pages, 125. This helps, again, the table of contents. How much am I going to be covering? How deep am I going to go? And then the estimated writing schedule. And here, and I might say this again in another slide, because this is like an important thing. A lot of people say, well, I'll tell you this. So the average length of time that it takes most professional authors to write a book is 6 to 9 months. And that's like a real 50 to 60% of the people, that's how long it takes them. As I said, you're writing it alongside your full-time job, your full-time life, and nights and weekends or different pieces of time that you're going to put together to write it. The only time we as a publisher, and this I'm speaking for Apress, but probably speaking for other publishers as well, the only time I would ever give an author a deadline is if you came to me and said, hey, I'm going to be doing a keynote at Identiverse next year. And I really want the book to be there. I want to do a book signing. When do I have to have the manuscript done? And then I would work backwards and give you a date. But that's really the only time we would ever give you a date. But I can tell you that if you ask that question to any editor, they'd say, when do you want my manuscript? As soon as possible. That's the answer, as soon as possible. But be realistic. Give your editor, and again, me or somebody else in the field, give your editor a realistic idea, but then add a couple of months to account for unforeseen things that come up. So, project at work, something happening in your personal life. You don't want to have that pressure. Also, and again, I've been doing this a whole long time. As long as you communicate with your editor and you are upfront and you say, hey, this came up, this is what's going on, I'm going to be 2 months late. We're fine with that. We can definitely work with that, but we just like the communication. That's really important. Next slide. So that was the general. This is a little bit more specific. The process, because the process at Apress is a little bit different from other publishers that I have worked at, and I'll tell you why, and why I think it's better. Or why I think it's better for tech books. So we have two phases of our process. We have the editorial phase, and then we have the production phase. The editorial phase is where you are writing. We are writing your first draft, and you send in your first 3 chapters. We work on a chapter by chapter workflow at Apress, that's the difference from other publishers that I've worked for. Typically, other publishers, you sign a contract and you say, I'm going to submit this manuscript in September. And then you're off on your own island doing your thing, writing your book. And then September 1st rolls around and where's your manuscript? Whereas we have 2 dates in our contract. The first date is the delivery of the first 3 chapters. And then the second date is the delivery of the delivery date for the entire manuscript. So our authors submit, 1, 2, 3 chapters initially. And while we're doing sort of the editorial stuff on these first chapters, the author is continuing writing. And this is very useful, I think, for authors, because you can see, you can get feedback right away. And a lot of the feedback that we give tends to be sort of specific to what we, our the style of our books, calling out figures and naming figures and just different elements and things like that we can provide feedback on, so that can be incorporated into all the future chapters. And you can see why that would be helpful, as opposed to, writing a whole book and then getting that feedback at the end and having to start all over again. The other important thing, as I mentioned before, we have a technical reviewer for each one of our books, and that technical reviewer is also reading along with, as soon as the editor takes a look at the first 3 chapters, they go to the technical reviewer, and then that feedback all goes back to the author to address or incorporate or not, because the author is the author. And if they, if they say, oh, that's not correct, that comment's not correct, I'm correct, then that's how it goes. But that's part of the process. So just the feedback. I was having a conversation with someone this morning, and we were talking about how if a manuscript came, if we didn't do this chapter by chapter workflow that we do, if we didn't do it that way, then it's harder. It might be harder to get a technical reviewer. It's one thing to ask a technical reviewer to look at a chapter every couple of weeks, and a completely different thing to say, hey, can you look at this 300-page manuscript? It's a different ask, and it's a different commitment for them. So I find that this process works great. I see a question. Does the publisher provide technical reviewer, or the author needs to find one? Usually, we start out by asking the author, do you have a suggestion? Most of our authors actually do. We then have sort of like a stable of technical reviewers that we worked with before, or we get an awful lot. You'd be surprised, almost every day, 1 or 2 times a day, we get an unsolicited inquiry from somebody, a professional working in the field, saying, I'd like to be considered to be a technical reviewer. Here are my qualifications, and we add them to our list. And then, if we're in a spot where we need somebody, or somebody dropped out and the author doesn't have a suggestion, then we're able to usually right away be able to find somebody who's appropriate and who can step in and fill that role. So then next slide. So here's where the chapter by chapter workflow really kicks into high gear. When I said before, other publishers, you get the whole manuscript and you have to start from scratch. We're working chapter by chapter, so that by the time we get to the last chapter, we've incorporated all the changes we've done all the manuscript review on all of the earlier chapters. So by the time we get to the last chapter and we're able to do the technical review and finish that, we're ready to hand this over to our production team. And production consists of copy editing, indexing, page composition, author proofs, proof corrections, and final files. This is where all of the magic happens, where the manuscript turns into a book. At a lot of publishers, and again, I'm just comparing it to other places I've worked, not necessarily to my our competitors or whatever. And again, and also I worked in different topic areas. Our production process or phase is approximately usually 2 months, which is very fast. A lot of even at Springer, even at the company I work for, some of the academic books, their production phase is about 6 months. That's a very long time for a tech book to wait. Things can go out of date. Things are happening so quickly. So being able to be nimble and agile and get a book to, actually get a book to market as soon as possible, that puts us, in a really good spot. So that's how we do it, and it's been working out great. And it was a surprise to me how quick that was, because it was not something I had experience in before, but it works very well, and authors are happy. It's great to be able to get the books out. Apress, we sign a contract with an author. The author retains copyright. When you open up the book, the copyright is registered in the name of the author. But a contract with an author enables the publisher, us, to distribute and sell the rights of the book. So we sell our books everywhere books are sold. Most of our books are sold at Amazon, which is probably true for most other publishers. But Barnes and Noble, anywhere, all of our online retailers. We have our own at SpringerLink.com. We sell books direct to the consumer, but and we sell our books. Our books are printed. They're available in print and in electronic formats. So, however people want to purchase them. a surprise that I had when I joined was I thought, oh, these tech folks, everyone's going to want books. And it's absolutely not the case. It's 50-50, maybe 55 print to 45 which surprised the heck out of me when I joined. But that's how it is. I think, I've had conversations with people and they say, yeah, it's just that's the habit we're into. We like to, especially if it's sort of like a more like a practical book, like giving a solution to a problem. People just want to have it. They want to have it on their desk. They want to mark it up. They want to refer to it and not have to go looking for it in electronic files. So we publish in all formats so people can consume the media in the way that they're comfortable consuming it. So that's our two processes. And again, it's probably relatively the same in most publishing houses. All these steps happen. They might not do it on a chapter by chapter workflow, but every publisher does all of these things. Next slide. Okay, so things to consider. These are things that most of our, I think Sarah said at the beginning, most of our authors are first-time authors. We get a lot of repeat authors, a lot of people coming back to do a new edition or a second book or something like that. But most of our authors are first-time authors. So as I said, I've been saying all throughout this thing, writing a book in addition to your job and your life responsibilities is difficult. It's not, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a labor of love, and we respect that and we see that. And I have the utmost respect for people who can make it happen. It's great. But sort of that leads into the next bullet point, which is, and this might make it easier, should you have a co-author? I've had a lot of experience. Some people come to me with a co-author right in mind. Here's two people, we want to write a book together. Sometimes I've had situations where an author will have a great idea and they'll start to write a book. And one of my Salesforce books that I had done a few years ago, I had a single author, and he was a little bit delayed in getting some stuff to me. And he got on the phone with me and he said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, I'm not making progress. I know what I want to talk about, but I'm not there. And I said, have you ever considered bringing on a co-author? And he's like, "Oh, I can do that still now." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll just do a contract amendment and we'll add a co-author if you have somebody." So not very much longer after that, he got back to me and he brought on a co-author, and things then just started to pick up because they fed off of each other. They were able to I'll take this part, you take that part. And the book came out to such a great reception, and to see it so successful it just made me so happy. And when we talked about it after the book published and it was really getting a lot of interest, he did a lot of fun things, like he did a little book club, and his co-author did. And he said to me, I never thought I would even get it done, and if I didn't bring on Jim, the co-author, it would have never happened. So that's something that can happen right from the start, or it can happen a little way into the process. You're all here listening, our audiobooks, a thing for technical. Sometimes, but not necessarily the real technical ones. We have a whole, Springer Nature has a licensing rights team that present our books to a variety of different audiobook producers. One of them that we've done some deals with is Recorded Books, at some with Audible. They don't want books that have a lot of figures in them. They certainly don't want anything that's got code, anything that's going to make it difficult for a reader. But when I talked earlier on about how we do a lot of business and business tech books, those books definitely seem to get a little bit more interest from audiobooks. So that's just things that are a little bit, more narrative heavy and less figure and code heavy. How do people apply for the technical reviewer? There is a link on our website, apress.com, and you can just see what the email address is, but it's editorial@apress.com. I can just tell you that. And you can send your CV and just an email saying what you're interested, what your skills are, what books you might be, topics you might want to be, and then we'll add you to our list. So absolutely, I encourage you to do that. And that is the last bullet point on my slide here, get your feet wet by being a technical reviewer. And sometimes that sparks something, or But it's a great way to add something to your CV. You get your bio and your picture in the book that you are the technical reviewer for. So, you're part of that project for good. You're on the copyright page as the technical reviewer. And again in the book. So I think that's like a nice opportunity if you're not ready to write a book on your own. And then also the other bullet point that I have here is if you're not ready to write a book, perhaps you can or have or do already create video. So we do. We don't sell our videos direct to consumer, but we do a subscription package that's sold to corporate, public, and academic libraries, and they subscribe to our video professional, our applied professional and applied computing package. And that is, we have one video producer who does a lot of things. He does a lot of mobile videos. So he'll do a video on a certain topic, but he'll do one for iOS and one for Android. So he's done a whole bunch of things like that. But and then the Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons gentleman, Kerry Parker, he did a really great video, just sort of like on a segment of his book. So so video, and we give all the 20 to 30 minutes, maybe even 40 up to 45 minutes. They're not very long, but that's another thing that another way you can consider. And again, not just with us, but anywhere in the community, whether it's, YouTube or something like that. That's a great way to sort of build your confidence and in sharing the things that you know with the community, is to create little videos. I think I would encourage people to do that if that's something that you're interested in. People are always, again, as I said, whether it's print or electronic books, people are going to consume the information in the way that they're comfortable consuming it. And a lot of people just go to YouTube for solutions to a lot of things. So that's something to consider. Next slide. Questions. How to get started. So the proposal form is on our website, apress.com. You can see it, look at it. I don't have it open right now, but it's on Right for Us. It's the proposal, and some other resources are there, some things about just the writing process, additional information. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter/X. Here's my email address. You can contact me and I'll send you the proposal form. But I believe it's also in the event calendar for this event. I believe that Nicole put that there. Let me just double check there. Yep, there's the proposal form, and then there's not only the proposal form, but there's also a completed proposal form, which is it's entitled "How to Build Your Own Bicycle." And we did this. One of our editors did this to just sort of. Bicycles was something he was interested in, but something like a way to show a potential author, like why are we asking for that, or what do I have to do here? Like how much information is the publisher asking for? So it's completely filled out, and I think that's a really useful tool, actually, especially if you're coming at this for the first time and you just want to check it out. I think is that my last slide? I think it is. It is. Thank you all for attending. I'm certainly here for questions. Again, sorry I was a fast talker, but now we have a little bit more time for questions. So if you have any, you can. If you don't have a question now and you want to just reach out to me for any question, and again, even if it's not on a tech book you want to write, if it's on another book, I can try to help you. But how often do we say? Okay, here we go. How often do we say no to proposals? I mean, I don't know percentage-wise. I think that if somebody, I don't want to say often, but it happens. It definitely happens. It's the, I think there was a slide that's missing. I don't know if isn't there a slide? Yeah, this one. I don't think we did this one. Okay. Well, let's finish answering the question. So we do sometimes say no to proposals, but it sort of like goes into this thing that I want to talk about. Common questions and misperceptions. Common questions and misconceptions. This is something that I get asked an awful lot. How much does it cost the author? Should I pay to publish my book? If you are going to self-publish, then yes, you are going to pay. You're going to pay for the editorial fees. You're going to pay. If you publish with a regular publisher like Springer Nature, like Wiley, like Macmillan, like McGraw-Hill, any kind of a professional publishing house, they analyze the proposal, they look at similar titles that they have, they look at the marketplace, they make an assessment. Should we take a risk on this book? Can we publish this book? Can we sell this book? If they say yes to that, then a contract is offered to the author, but there is absolutely no cost to the author whatsoever. The publisher takes on every bit of financial risk. Some books pay off, some books sell really well, some books do not. And that is sort of like any publisher, anybody, I've been doing this a very long time. You always think that a book is going to publish or going to sell well, because otherwise you wouldn't do it. You take on the risk because you think there's a market for it, and you think that you're going to be able to sell the book. This is not something on here, but it is a question I get all the time, so I'm going to say it. People say, well, how many copies, or how much money do I make? It seems to me that most people who come to write a book, especially a tech book, they kind of know that they're not going to make John Grisham money. They're not going to make I don't know. I'm blanking on other. They're not going to make like famous author novel money, and they know that. But they do make some money, and in the royalties, that's how they're compensated, by royalties. But the things that authors don't realize, and that I can't even promise necessarily, but I can say from experience that it happens over and over again, are the unknowns, the things that are going to happen. If you publish your book with a publishing house, automatically you are seen as a thought leader in this particular topic and this space. You go to do a speaking, you get speaking engagements, and in your bio, right, it's author of, and whatever the topic is, it's like it gives you sort of a gravitas or whatever, or like you published with a publishing house. You didn't publish your own book. Somebody took on this project, and maybe you get different new speaking engagements. Maybe you get consulting gigs. Maybe you get that new job, or you get a promotion. I have a gentleman that I met my first time going to RSA back when I started, and he and I met, and he had a book he wanted to write, and now he's written 5-6 books for us, and several new editions of some of his books. And he called me up one day, we were talking about a project, and he said, I was promoted to CTO of my company, and I know it's because I wrote this book. And he was just so thrilled. It wasn't necessarily his goal when he started out. He was one of those people who wanted to share his knowledge, but that was the end result. And that is the real joy for me, like the validation, like, you put all this time, this blood, sweat, and tears into writing this book, and then something great happens at the end of it that, I sold, maybe less books than I thought I was going to, but this amazing thing happened. So that's definitely something to consider. I think I covered some of these. So the timeline and the deadline, I told you about that. Do you need to be very established, well-known to be a published author? No, you do not. You need to have a great understanding of your topic. You need to be passionate about it. You need to be able to convey your knowledge of that topic. But sometimes we have authors that, a topic that maybe it's a topic. We definitely do our research. I mean, I'll hear if I didn't know what zero trust security was, so I had to look that up. I had to do a little research to find out, is this a concept somebody made up, or is this a big deal or not a big deal? And it was a big deal. But you have to be passionate about your topic, and then from there it can build. I'm going to jump into this question. If a proposal is rejected, do people get the opportunity to write it again within some time span provided by Apress? Well, I think that this question is, if you submit a proposal and it gets rejected, can you resubmit at a later date? Yeah, absolutely. You definitely can. You can take it to another publisher who might have different, every publisher publishes on a ton of professional and on a ton of topics. If I signed a book on zero trust security, I keep using this as the example, and then it just publishes, or I'm in the production phase and we get another proposal on the same topic and the same coverage. I'm probably not going to sign that book, but I might ask the author, hey, I have another book on almost the identical sort of treatment and coverage. You seem, this is you've done a great job with this proposal. Can we figure out a way to come at this topic from a different angle? So that happens sometimes too. do you need to have a complete manuscript before you can sign a contract? No, you do not. Most authors do not. Most authors come with just the proposal and a delivery date of when they think they can get it done. More often than you would imagine, which is to say, I guess maybe post-pandemic, when people had a little bit more time on their hands, we would get, my colleagues and I, we would get some proposals that would come along with a little note, this manuscript is complete. So somebody would write the book and then start shopping it around to publishing houses. That's definitely a little bit more common since COVID and people had time. But that's absolutely not we don't approve projects based on whether something is done or not. We assume that we're just getting started. Is there guidance provided for first-time authors? Yeah, I don't want to say that we hold authors' hands, but we sort of hold your hand, especially with the chapter-by-chapter workflow. We provide a lot of guidance. We have a lot of resources and tools that we give to our authors as soon as the project is signed and we're ready to go. We give them a writing template. We provide, we do calls. We do a kickoff call if they want to do it. We're always available to answer questions. We work as a team. There's a project management team, there's the editorial team, there's the production team, and we all coordinate together. So there's a lot of people who, it's not just me working on these books, it's a huge team of people. We have a marketing team, sales team. There are many teams who work on getting this book from the idea to finished product and beyond. So that's the last, I think the last slide, and I'll take questions. And again, like I started to say before, if you have a question after today, please feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to answer whatever I can at any time. And I know that I'm not going to be flooded with proposals tomorrow. Some of you will just think about it, and maybe it'll happen a year from now or a year and a half from now. But you've heard about how it is and how it goes, and now you have a little bit more information. So I just wish you all good luck on your journey, however the journey takes you.
The opportunity to introduce themselves. BBWIC, you guys want to go first?
Yep, sure. Thank you so much, Tanisha and Suzanne. Thank you so much. This was an incredible session. I'll just go quickly. So my name is Asta Sani, and I'm the founder of Breaking Barriers Women in Cybersecurity community, which is BBWIC Foundation. And typically our community help women foster, as they're part of cybersecurity industry, how to scale up in the industry, how to move up in the leadership ladder. And research is one of the area. Research and publishing is one of the area we highly focus on. And I think this session was incredibly great that we have seen so far. I myself has learned a lot today, and thanks to you, understanding different technicalities which are behind, like starting, how to publish, how to reach out, and I'm just mind blown right now. So thank you so much for bringing this on the table today. And I have so many notes that I have personally taken, and I'll be taking back to my community and sharing it with them, and probably reach out to you all folks again, and we can, I think, continue to do this, all of this together, and something new and something interesting. So thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. I guess I didn't talk too fast.
No, not at all.
I'm also from Jersey.
Oh, okay. So we know. Fast talkers.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I am Tanisha Martin. I am the executive director and founder for BlackGirlsHack. So we are a nonprofit. And I am super excited to have been a part of this because I know that Mary and I just released a book earlier this year. And I promise you, I wish that I had known all of these things, before we embarked on that journey, but we're in the process of working on another book at this point. So, we will definitely be reaching out to find out more and get involved. So next up, we have WISP. Sarah, you're up.
Thanks so much, Sarah Mackey with Women in Security and Privacy. Excited to be here today with you and let you know about WISP, Women in Security and Privacy. We're focused on advancing women and underrepresented communities to lead the future of privacy and security. Invite all of you to learn more about us at wisp.org.com and get involved, get engaged, and help us all support and lift up each other in this space. So thanks so much. Over to Mary.
Hello, Mary Galloway here. I'm the CEO and a founding board member for the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu, aka Cyberjutsu. Like all these other wonderful groups, we provide hands-on training and community for women and girls looking to enter and advance in the cybersecurity space. We focus on the technical part of that. We host study groups, conferences, all of the things to help build that community around getting into this space. And like Tanisha said, I wish we had had this before. Writing, I just finished a study guide and it was a literal labor of love.
It is.
And I wanted to quit. But it's a fun process. It's a great thing. So please feel free to reach out to all of us with questions, any information, or just to chat about, all the things. And that's it.
Thanks so much. I also want to jump in and share a little bit about our friends with the Diana Initiative. Thanks so much, Nicole, for helping to bring us together. If you're not familiar, the mission of the Diana Initiative is to create a more inclusive information security industry. And I'm sure you've already marked your calendars, but Monday, August 5th, at the Westin in Las Vegas, you can join the diversity-driven conference committed to helping all underrepresented people in information security. So more information on the website. And thanks all for joining and learning about Diana Initiative as well.
All right, so we have got about 9 more minutes left before the top of the hour. So I just wanted to put out a last call to see if there were any additional questions that anyone had for our guest. If not, I think she provided you with her LinkedIn and the email and the website to where you can go and find out about the proposals. I encourage you, if you are trying to talk yourself out of, writing a book, or you've been thinking about it, to, basically jump on the other side of the bandwagon and, encourage yourself to do this. It is very much so a very tedious and a labor of love, as Mary mentioned, but I think it's very rewarding and a valuable experience. So especially if you're looking to increase your brand, your personal brand, or that of, whatever it is that you've got going on, I think this is an excellent opportunity. Even if you, get involved with a technical reviewer position. So I do not see any additional questions. So we want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. Thank you to Diana Initiative for, just another opportunity to bring engaging content to, women in the cybersecurity technology space. One question, Susan, can you talk about open access books?
I sure can. Open access is obviously a really big thing in the basically what it means is rather than sort of like a traditional, you're still writing the book, all the writing of the book is the same, but with open access, the electronic version of the book is made available freely to anyone who wants to download it. And this is made available by sponsorship, whether it's sponsorship by, usually it's, it's corporate or academic. And I've worked on books with both. I've worked on a series of books with Intel, where Intel is working on sort of like a particular topic, and they want to get, some sort of technology, and they really want to get the word out, and they want to make it as broad as possible. So they will sponsor a book on a particular topic. And then sometimes it will be academic, where different, universities, colleges and universities have like certain, money and grant money and things like that. It's typically for a book, it's typically $15,000, just because I'm sure that's probably what someone might be thinking. How much does it cost? It's a $15,000 sponsorship. We still sell the print books. The author still receives royalties on the print books, but the digital copy is available for free. If you go to apress.com or Springer Link, there are a ton of open access books that you can go right now and download for free. Depending on your topic, there's tons of things out there.
That's absolutely amazing to know. I'm going to go definitely check that out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Thank you, everybody, for coming out and joining us for Demystifying Publishing, brought to you by Diane Initiative. We hope everyone has an amazing evening, and shoot all your shots.
Thank you so much for tonight. It was awesome.